March 9, 1945, the strategic landscape of the Pacific War had reached a brutal and pivotal stage. For years, Japanese leadership had profoundly underestimated the threat of sustained aerial bombardment. Initial military victories and ingrained perception of national invincibility fostered a dangerous complacency. As early as April 1942, following the Doolittle raid, Foreign Minister Togo's wife confidently declared Tokyo could not be bombed by Americans. Ironically, the limited damage of that first raid perversely deepened this false sense of security. Beneath this rhetoric, Japan's civilian air defense structure was hobbled by bureaucratic infighting and conflicting priorities. A national civilian air defense law had been passed in 1937, transferring crucial responsibilities but creating a fractured system. Resources were consistently diverted from civilian protection to war production, a decision that would prove catastrophic. Yet, the notion that Japanese complacency persisted until the atomic bombs is challenged by the historical record. The fall of Saipan in July 1944 was a stark turning point. For those within Japanese leadership who possessed genuine insight, it became clear that homeland attacks were now an inevitability. By October 1943, a cabinet decision had been made to remove non-war production personnel from urban areas, though public uptake remained limited. Prime Minister Koizo himself warned on January 1, 1945, of intensifying air raids and increasing national difficulties. Tokyo was particularly vulnerable. The city's densely packed wooden structures, echoing the devastation of the Great Earthquake of 1923, presented an ideal target for incendiary attacks. Some defensive measures were implemented. By March 1945, over 1.7 million citizens had already left Tokyo due to air raid warnings and government-sponsored defense programs. 31 miles of firebreaks had been created across the city, ranging from 45 to 110 yards wide. To achieve this, 207,370 homes were deliberately destroyed, an immense sacrifice designed to limit fire's spread. But these efforts would prove wholly inadequate. On the night of March 9/35, the true scale of American air power would be unleashed. Starting at 10:30 p.m. on March 9th, sirens finally sounded the air raid alarm, a full 7 minutes after the first bombs had already begun falling. The official air raid alert was not issued until 12:15 a.m. on March 10th. Squadrons of American B-29 Superfortresses descended upon the designated target area of 10 square miles. These aircraft released a staggering 1,665 tons of incendiaries, delivered in 8,519 clusters that unleashed over 496,000 individual 6.2-pound. These were not conventional explosives, but bombs designed to ignite and spread fire, described by one observer as flaming dew, that skittered across rooftops. Their effectiveness was critically amplified by wind conditions that Robert Guillaume, a Western observer, described as violent as a spring typhoon. Father Gustave Bruno Maria Bitter, a Jesuit at Sophia University, captured the devastating visual of a silver curtain falling as the bombs descended. Tokyo's civil defense was catastrophically unprepared. The Tokyo Fire Department's peak strength in November 1944 was 8,100 personnel, operating from 287 stations. Yet, their inventory included only 3 aerial extension ladders, just one of which was functional. Many civilian shelters, known as bokugo, were crude holes in the ground, offering little protection against the inferno that now engulfed the city. The meticulous analysis of scholar Gordon Daniels underscores the strategic targeting of Tokyo's densely packed residential and mixed industrial areas, ensuring maximum destruction in the city's highly flammable landscape. The catastrophic outcome of March 9-10, 1945, irrevocably changed the strategic calculus of the war. The firebombing demonstrated the utter inadequacy of Japanese defenses and shattered any lingering illusions of homeland invulnerability. The subsequent acceleration of evacuation plans for civilians was a direct consequence, indicating a heightened sense of impending danger among the populace and their leaders. This single event, with its massive civilian casualties and unparalleled destruction, served as a stark and brutal precursor to the even more extreme measures that would ultimately be brought to bear in the final desperate phase of the war. It profoundly shaped the strategic landscape for future invasion planning, and for the eventual unthinkable use of atomic weapons. Even as the specter of atomic warfare loomed, Japan desperately sought a diplomatic avenue, a final desperate attempt to avoid total annihilation. Their hopes rested on Moscow, and their representative, Naotake Sato, stood. Tasked with sounding out the Soviets on their neutrality pact, Sato's growing frustration was palpable. Intercepted messages, decoded by Allied intelligence through Aztec magic, revealed his attempts to divine Soviet policy. As early as February 12, Sato expressed his initial outburst regarding the lack of information on Japan's intentions toward the Soviet pact. Just 10 days later, on February 22, he reported on a meeting with Vyacheslav Molotov, the famously glacial Soviet foreign minister, noting Molotov's surprisingly amiable and smiling demeanor. But this cordiality was a cruel deception. On April 5, the Soviets officially abrogated the Neutrality Pact, a fact quickly confirmed by Allied magic intercepts. The writing was on the wall. On April 12, the vice chief of the Imperial Army General Staff advised on the high likelihood of Soviet intervention. A deep-seated suspicion about Soviet intentions now confirmed. Japan's new foreign minister, Togo, dispatched crucial messages to Sato on May 21 and directed former Premier Koki Hirota to engage with the Soviet ambassador. Sato secured another interview with Molotov on May 28, while Togo, on June 1, instructed Sato on the urgent necessity of preventing Soviet entry into the war. Yet, even as these diplomatic pleas were made, the internal Japanese military remained uncompromising. A thunderously officious message from the Vice Chief of the Imperial Army General Staff denounced unsanctioned peace overtures on June 24. The Allies, however, were not waiting. May 8, 1945, marked German capitulation, shifting the full might of the Allied war machine to the Pacific. On May 25, 1945, the Joint Chiefs of Staff issued their order for the invasion of Japan, codenamed Operation Downfall. This immense undertaking was divided into two phases. Operation Olympic, scheduled for November 1, 1945 X-Day, aimed to invade southern Kyushu. Its scale was staggering. A projected commitment of 766,700 men, 134,000 vehicles, and 1,470,930 tons of material. Following this would be Operation Coronet, tentatively set for March 1, 1946 Yai Day, the invasion of the Tokyo area on Honshu. This second phase alone called for 1,026,000 personnel, 190,000 vehicles, and an astonishing 2,640,000 tons of material. To meet these demands, a vast redeployment was initiated, moving 15 European divisions and 63 air groups to the Pacific. The V Amphibious Corps alone, comprising 87,340 Marines, anticipated such severe fighting that significant reinforcement drafts were planned. General Kesha Douglas MacArthur and Admiral Kesha Douglas Harbless Nimitz Dastan were the key commanders developing these intricate plans. General Walter Kruger, commander of the Sixth Army, a typical dogmatic German soldier, was tasked with leading the invasion of Kyushu. Kruger harbored a deep concern for his soldiers, a sentiment that would echo through the projected battle casualties, underscoring the expected ferocity of the invasion. Despite Japan's desperate diplomatic feelers, Joseph C. Grew, Assistant Secretary of State, issued a press statement on July 10, 1945. He definitively declared the lack of any official Japanese peace offer, leaving the world to wonder what path Japan would choose.